5 of the most notorious serial killers. Ted Bundy was one of the most notorious serial killers in American history, active from 1974 to 1978. He was born in Burlington, Vermont in 1946 and grew up in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. He moved to Seattle, Washington in the 1960s, where he began his killing spree. Over the next several years, he was responsible for the deaths of numerous young women and girls, primarily in the Pacific Northwest, but also in California, Utah, and Colorado. Bundy was known for his good looks and charismatic personality, which he used to lure his victims into his car. He would offer to help them with something, such as carrying a bag or asking for directions, before attacking them. Once he had them captive, he would brutalize them, often leading to their deaths. He was known for his extreme violence and sadistic behavior, including rape, mutilation, and necrophilia. Despite a number of high-profile manhunts and trials, Bundy managed to evade capture for several years. However, he was finally arrested in 1978 in Florida, and was sentenced to death for his crimes. He was executed in 1989. The legacy of Ted Bundy's crimes continues to this day, as he remains one of the most notorious serial killers in history. His case is notable for a number of reasons, including his good looks and charisma, which made him seem like an unlikely candidate for such heinous crimes. It's also a reminder of the need to be cautious of strangers and to trust one's instincts when it comes to personal safety. Additionally, Bundy's case raises questions about the criminal justice system and the death penalty. Despite his brutal crimes, he was able to manipulate the system and delay his execution for years, causing further pain and suffering to the families of his victims. Jeffrey Dahmer, also known as the Milwaukee Cannibal, was a serial killer active in the late 20th century. He was born in Milwaukee, Wisconsin in 1960 and grew up in Ohio, where he began to display disturbing tendencies at a young age. He was known for his alcoholism and interest in taxidermy and dissection. Dahmer began his killing spree in the late 1970s, and over the next several years, he killed 17 young men and boys in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. He was known for luring his victims to his apartment, where he would drug them and commit horrific acts of violence, including murder, dismemberment, and necrophilia. He also engaged in cannibalism, preserving the body parts of his victims in his refrigerator and freezer. Dahmer was finally arrested in 1991, after a potential victim managed to escape and alert the police. During the investigation of his apartment, police found evidence of his crimes, including body parts and photographs. He was tried and convicted for 15 of the 17 murders, and was sentenced to 15 terms of life in prison. The legacy of Jeffrey Dahmer's crimes continues to this day, as he remains one of the most notorious serial killers in American history. His case is a chilling reminder of the need to be vigilant and to trust one's instincts when it comes to personal safety. It also raises questions about the criminal justice system, as Dahmer was able to evade detection for years, despite the many red flags and warning signs. Additionally, Dahmer's case highlights the importance of mental health and the need for a better understanding of the underlying psychological and social factors that contribute to violent crime. His horrific acts were rooted in deep-seated psychological issues, and it's important to address these issues in order to prevent similar crimes from happening in the future. Gary Leon Ridgway, also known as the Green River Killer, was an American serial killer who was active in the 1980s and 1990s in the state of Washington. He is one of the most prolific serial killers in U.S. history, with a confirmed kill count of 49 women and young girls. Ridgway was born in 1949 in Salt Lake City, Utah, and moved to the Seattle area in the 1970s. Over the course of 2 decades, he targeted and killed vulnerable women, many of whom were prostitutes or runaways. He gained notoriety and his nickname, the Green River Killer, from the location where the bodies of several of his victims were found. Ridgway was finally caught in 2001, after several breakthroughs in forensic science, and DNA technology allowed the police to link him to several of the murders. He was arrested and later confessed to multiple murders, making a plea deal in exchange for a sentence of life in prison without the possibility of parole. The case of Gary Ridgway is a chilling reminder of the evil that can exist in society and the devastating impact that a serial killer can have on a community. It also highlights the importance of advanced forensic technology and the role it plays in solving crime and bringing justice to victims and their families. Aileen Wuornos was a notorious American serial killer who was active in the early 1990s. Born in Rochester, Michigan in 1956, Wuornos had a difficult childhood marked by abuse, neglect, and abandonment. She became a prostitute at a young age, and over the course of several years, she is believed to have killed 7 men in Florida. Wuornos claimed that her victims had either tried to rape her or had treated her badly while she was working as a prostitute. However, her claims were disputed by the police, and the evidence suggested that the murders were premeditated and carried out for financial gain. Wuornos was finally arrested in 1991, after a multi-state manhunt, and was tried and convicted for multiple murders. She was sentenced to death and was executed in 2002. The legacy of Aileen Wuornos's crimes is one of tragedy and violence, as she took the lives of 7 innocent people. It's also a reminder of the harsh realities of life for many people in America, particularly for those who are marginalized and vulnerable, such as prostitutes. Aileen Wuornos was one of the first female serial killers to gain notoriety in the United States. Her life and crimes continue to be the subject of much discussion and analysis, and her legacy remains controversial. Some view her as a victim of a harsh and unforgiving society, while others see her as a cold-blooded murderer. Regardless of one's perspective, her story serves as a reminder of the complexities of the human experience. Dennis Rader, also known as the BTK Killer or the BTK Strangler, was an American serial killer who murdered 10 people in the Kansas area between 1974 and 1991. He was born in 1945 in Kansas and lived in the Wichita area for most of his life. Rader's victims were mostly women and children, and he gained notoriety for his disturbing and gruesome methods of killing. He was also known for taunting the police and the public through letters and messages to the media, in which he referred to himself as BTK, which stood for Bind, Torture, Kill. Despite a lengthy and intense investigation, Rader managed to evade capture for over 3 decades. However, in 2004, he was finally caught after he resumed his correspondence with the police and the media, leading to his arrest. He was later convicted of 10 counts of first-degree murder and was sentenced to 10 consecutive life sentences without the possibility of parole. The case of Dennis Rader is a chilling reminder of the danger that can lurk in even the most seemingly normal of individuals. It is also a testament to the power of communication, both in terms of the way that Rader used it to torment his victims and the way that technology ultimately helped bring him to justice. Moreover, the BTK case highlights the importance of teamwork and collaboration in law enforcement. The tireless efforts of the police and the public led to Rader's capture, and his case serves as an example of what can be accomplished when communities come together to fight against crime. The legacy of Dennis Rader is a warning to us all to always be vigilant and to never underestimate the power of evil. Like and subscribe.